Tonight, shock and anger in Quebec after a daylight shooting inside a busy Montreal-area Starbucks.
It's unacceptable. Unacceptable what we saw today.
A well-known gang leader gunned down, 2 associates injured. Danielle Smith ups the pressure to get more crude oil to market.
The government of Alberta will be the proponent of an oil pipeline to the northwest BC coast.
Jane Goodall, dead at 91. From intimate observer of chimps to global conservationist. Truly a colossal influencer.
Hope is not about wishful thinking. Hope is about taking action.
Some of her final public words spoken to CBC just weeks ago.
From CBC News, this is The National with Christine Barak.
Thanks for joining us. Adrian is on assignment. A spray of bullets interrupted the morning coffee rush inside a Starbucks in Laval, just north of Montreal. Police call it a targeted hit on members of an organized crime group. Customers ducked under tables to shield themselves after shots were fired at 3 occupants of a table at the back. 1 person died and 2 others were injured. Our colleagues at Radio-Canada have confirmed the targets were the leader of a known crime ring and his associates. Sarah Levitt has more details, starting with silent surveillance footage showing a fly-on-the-wall view of what happened.
Shocking footage from inside a busy Starbucks. The video, obtained by Radio-Canada, shows the moment 2 people rush in and head directly to the back of the coffee shop. CBC News is not showing the moment of the shooting, but in the aftermath, people cower on the floor as the suspects run out. It happened at 10:30 a.m. Wednesday as people stopped in to grab a coffee. 3 men were shot, 1 killed. Radio-Canada sources confirm this was a targeted hit on Haralambos Theologiou, known as Bobby the Greek. He's alleged to have been in charge of an organized crime ring called the Shomedy Greeks. His 2 associates also hit, but they survived.
It's unacceptable. Unacceptable what we saw today. To have such violence in a public space, in front of families, in front of people. To us, obviously, we don't want this in our city.
A brazen attack with the suspects still on the loose. Police say they're upping patrols on the streets.
There's a big impact on the feeling, the safety feeling for citizens. So what we're going to do, we're going to work with our teams to put more visibility on the street. We're going to target strategic targets to be sure that the organized crime understand that we're going to be there.
Reassurances, too, coming from Quebec's Minister of Public Security.
We need to maintain pressure on organized crime. And this is my duty, this is my job, this is my mandate, and believe me, it's going to happen every day.
Provincial police have taken over the investigation and are asking anybody with information to share it with them.
Sarah, Laval police are assuring residents they are safe, but similar incidents have happened before?
Yes, and more than 1 case. Targeted shootings, particularly with the Montreal Mafia. In 2019, there was a shooting inside a Laval hotel with people around, including children. That followed 2 other targeted attacks within the same week. Then, as in now, Laval police promised a crackdown.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Sarah Levitt reporting from Laval, Quebec. Alberta says it's stepping up with millions of dollars to develop a plan for a new pipeline to the West Coast. And Premier Danielle Smith is talking an aggressive timeline. Aaron Collins on the pitch for the patch.
Danielle Smith stepping into the breach.
The government of Alberta will be the proponent of an oil pipeline to the northwest BC coast.
Alberta's premier doing what the private sector has been unwilling to.
And it is my hope, with Alberta as the proponent, that we will see this pipeline project on the next list of nation-building projects.
Smith has no interest in owning the line, but is willing to help get the ball rolling. The Trans Mountain expansion, the last major pipeline built in Canada, bought by the federal government after its owner threatened to walk away, turned off by a perceived anti-pipeline environment that still lingers.
Why hasn't a private pipeline company stepped up to propose a project like this?
Well, you have multiple factors. The producer being able to expand production right to the other end, which is, do we trust the federal government to actually implement the deregulation that's required?
Lifting the cap on emissions from the oil sands at the top of that list, a move already facing opposition from other provinces.
The idea of augmenting the volume of oil and gas, which is extracted and then burned and consumed, is irresponsible.
A ban on oil tankers off the West Coast, also a major regulatory hurdle.
We don't support crude oil tankers traversing through. It's just not, the place for them to be.
And lifting the tanker ban could put major LNG projects in the province in jeopardy.
It is incredibly alarming to British Columbians, including First Nations along the coast, whose support is required for the success of the billions of dollars in real projects that I'm talking about.
For now, Alberta's proposal for a new pipeline is more of a plan to make a plan. No route, no price tag, no private sector proponent.
Alberta's premier says those details will be hammered out as they go, and Danielle Smith expects things to move quickly, hoping her hypothetical pipeline is on the country's major projects list in less than 2 months. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
The search for a missing 6-year-old boy in southwestern Alberta has been called off by RCMP. Darius McDougall was reported missing September 21st while on a family camping trip in the Crow's Nest Pass area. Teams using helicopters, dogs, drones, and underwater equipment found nothing in a 22 square kilometer area. The investigation continues, but RCMP say their belief is that he is no longer alive. In the words of fellow naturalists, the world has lost a revolutionary scientist and a force for good. Jane Goodall has died at the age of 91. After more than 60 years of groundbreaking research and passionate activism, her story and legacy from Deanna Sumanak-Johnson.
When Jane Goodall first went to Tanzania to study chimpanzees in the 1960s, she had no scientific training, only a talent for connecting with her subjects and a sharp eye for observation.
My mother, she would say, if you really want something and you really work hard and you take advantage of opportunity and you never give up, you'll find a way.
Goodall's research on great apes, from their social life and close family ties to ability to commit violent acts, appended what was previously thought of humanity's closest cousins.
Her detailed studies on termite fishing tool use were some of the first, scientific evidence used to demonstrate that, animals can make tools.
As her fame grew, her vision expanded. By 1977, she founded the Jane Goodall Institute, initially dedicated to protecting great apes. Deforestation was decimating habitats around the world. She went from a scientist to an activist.
I'd been able to live out my dream all those years. I'd been with these amazing beings in the beautiful forest, and it was all disappearing. I now had a responsibility to start paying back.
Goodall was named UN's Global Messenger of Peace and a Dame of the British Empire, but titles seemed to matter less than making a difference. Her unassuming stature concealed a powerhouse, recalls this friend and colleague.
She really had grit. She'd have various staff and managers working with her that were decades younger than her. She would wear them out.
That sense of mission kept her going until the very end, meeting fans.
I met somebody out there today. She's over there. She's almost 9 years old. You are her Taylor Swift. And pretty good.
And giving interviews. This one with CBC Radio's Sunday Magazine was recorded just weeks ago.
I don't know about you, but if you think around all the people you know and all the people you meet, just ordinary people, most of people are decent.
Sharing wisdom from her long life, researching animals and nature, and along the way, teaching us what it means to be human. Jane Goodall died while on a speaking tour in California. She was 91. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Deanna mentioned last month's CBC interview. We'll bring you more of that conversation. Jane Goodall, in her own words, a bit later on The National. 30 beluga whales at Ontario's Marineland will not be sent to a theme park in China. The federal government has denied the company's request to sell and ship their remaining animals. As Katie Nicholson explains, what happens next is grimly uncertain.
Marineland's beluga whales won't be moving to China, but their lives remain in limbo. The shuttered theme park's applications to export 30 belugas to Chimelong Ocean Kingdom denied by the federal fisheries minister.
It was a very difficult decision, but one that I feel was made in the best interest of the whales.
She visited the animals last month.
To see 30 belugas in contained spaces was very difficult.
A source working with Marineland told CBC News the park is about to file for bankruptcy following Ottawa's decision, and that it costs $2 million a month to care for the animals, and it will hand them over to the government to be euthanized. Ontario's premier insists they could still be exported somewhere else.
We don't have to move all 30 in one shot, a couple here, a couple there. We need the federal government to sign off on it, or, these whales are they're on their hands.
The Department of Fisheries and Oceans disagrees. It says if Marineland can no longer provide care, responsibility for their welfare transfers to the Government of Ontario under provincial law. Amid the finger-pointing, animal justice advocates see opportunity to push for the development of a seaside sanctuary like the one proposed for a Nova Scotia inlet.
And with federal support, with provincial support to make this happen, anything is possible.
Possible, but it could take a long time to get up and running.
Potentially, you're going to be saddling the taxpayer with millions and millions of dollars for the next 30 to 50 years.
Costly, but perhaps it's just the right thing to do, says this biologist.
Given what we as humans have put them through for their lives to date, in some ways, I think it's just owed to them that we do this properly.
Ontario's Solicitor General oversees animal welfare. It hasn't said yet what it plans to do about the whales it could soon inherit. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
Opposition leaders are turning up the heat on Prime Minister Mark Carney after Washington announced yet more tariffs. As Kate McKenna shows, it comes amid fresh questions about trade concessions Ottawa insists it isn't considering.
On tariffs, the Canadian government is once again playing defense.
We have been very clear from the beginning that supply management is not a subject of negotiation with the Americans.
The U.S.-Canada Trade Minister reassured farmers that no concessions will be made to Canada's dairy quota system after a published report in the Globe and Mail suggested there could be changes in the push for a wider trade deal with the U.S.
Parliament passed a law that we supported happily to make it clear that supply management is not a subject of negotiations in international trade agreements.
U.S. tariffs are piling up. In addition to levies on steel, aluminum, and the auto sector, Donald Trump announced new tariffs on lumber, cabinets, and furniture.
Obviously, we disagree with them, but I just wanted to say to all the workers and all the companies that are affected, we will be there to support you.
Our softwood lumber industry is under direct attack. It's easier and cheaper for the Russians to access the U.S. market than it is for Canadians. It's completely absurd.
Opposition leaders are questioning Canada's response.
Mr. Carney, who has been elected, saying, I'm the new hero. I'll come from the sky with a cape. I will start negotiation 1 week before the election. I will fix the tariffs, and I will start a negotiation for a new trade agreement. 6 months later, we have seen nothing of it.
While Mark Carney breaks his promise, puts his elbows down, and gets trampled on by foreign leaders, our workers lose their jobs.
But the U.S. administration hasn't budged on its pro-tariff agenda, despite protests from Canada and around the world, leaving countries scrambling to adapt to an ever-changing landscape. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
To the U.S. now, and for the first time in nearly 7 years, the federal government has shut down. Hundreds of thousands of workers are in limbo, and Americans are without key services. Katie Simpson now with the bitter political fight fueling this chaos.
Everyday life is now harder for Americans who rely on their federal government.
Navigating a patchwork of closures, workers are not being paid, with threats of permanent cuts.
On this vote, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53.
Lawmakers failed to pass a bill to temporarily keep the government funded. Non-essential services, including some food assistance programs, supports for veterans, and some court proceedings are winding down. While airport operations, federal law enforcement, and military service will continue without pay for workers.
If this thing drags on for another few days or, God forbid, another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off.
They can't bully us into just passing their bill, which does nothing, zero for American health care.
If health care subsidies are extended and some cuts reversed, Democrats say they'll support the Republican plan to fund and reopen the government, an idea that's being countered by wildly misleading claims.
We cannot afford to provide taxpayer-funded free health care to illegals who broke the law to enter our country.
The White House is making the fight deeply personal. The president shared this video on social media, using AI to put degrading language in the mouths of Democratic leaders.
Bigotry will get you nowhere.
And this second video a short time later.
Don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video.
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time.
The vice president dismissing concerns this behavior may hamper negotiations.
Hakeem Jeffries said it was racist, and I know that he said that, and I honestly don't even know what that means.
The earliest a new vote will be held is Friday. Shutdowns typically start off slow, with consequences compounding the longer they last. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Israel's Navy stopped a flotilla in international waters as it was approaching Gaza, carrying humanitarian aid and hundreds of activists.
That vessel is currently approaching us as I'm speaking into the phone.
Monitored by associates in Greece, those aboard the flotilla reported being surrounded by naval vessels before losing communications. Israel's foreign ministry posted video online showing well-known activist Greta Thunberg in custody. Similar flotillas have been diverted in the past, but this was the largest yet, with more than 40 boats. Rescue efforts are underway in the Philippines tonight after a powerful earthquake. The destruction and the real fear of aftershocks next. Portland, Oregon pushes back against Donald Trump.
A war zone is not the reality we have of Portland.
CBC News is there as the city awaits the National Guard. And pouring one out for the beer store.
The quiet one for the boys really turned into quite a community event.
A cottage country community says goodbye in our moment. We're back in 2. More air support has been brought in to contain an out-of-control wildfire in Kings County, Nova Scotia. That's about 90 minutes northwest of Halifax. Evacuation orders have been expanded to dozens more homes and cottages. The fire started on Sunday near Lake George. It's nearly doubled in size in the last 24 hours. Over 70 people are dead and dozens more injured after a 6.9 magnitude earthquake rocked central Philippines, the deadliest to hit the area in over a decade. Caroline Bargut looks at the destruction and the frantic search for survivors.
At this night market in Cebu province, the moment a 6.9 magnitude earthquake hit was captured on camera. So was the panic. Dozens are injured and dead, and the death toll is expected to rise. The quake is the deadliest to hit the Philippines since 2013, when a 7.2 magnitude quake struck, killing 222 people. As the body bags pile up, loved ones gather to say goodbye. In Bogo, a coastal city of about 90,000 people close to the epicenter of the quake, rescuers are on the ground searching for survivors. We're racing against time, this senior fire official says. We are talking about life here.
Lord, please send some help, Lord.
At this shopping mall, the devastation is all around as patrons took cover. This woman survived the quake.
Hanggang ngayon parang
Up to now, my body is shaking because of fear, she says. I'm getting emotional because of fear. I get restless whenever there are aftershocks. A local reporter says there have been some 900 aftershocks, with many residents too afraid to go home.
The victims, the survivors, they rather sleep outside, on the road, in the field, and what's even worse is that the weather here is not cooperative at all.
Here in Canada, where more than 1 million Filipinos live, there is concern those injured by the quake may not get help fast enough.
So they were dealing with the aftermath of the typhoon, primarily the flooding that happened before the earthquake, and then now to be hit by another major earthquake. It's just one after another.
She says electricity is down, so it's hard to even reach people, and the total number of those missing is still unknown. Caroline Bargood, CBC News, Vancouver.
Portland, Oregon is bracing for the arrival of National Guard troops.
Bring the water cannons. Yeah, I hope they bring their water cannons.
Why Donald Trump is targeting the city next. The vital work of defending Canada's Arctic.
That vessel is going very fast there now, has the RCMP on board.
We take you inside training underway in the vulnerable region. And Jane Goodall gave one of her final interviews to CBC.
Every day we live, we make some impact on the planet.
What kept the celebrated conservationist hopeful? The National breaks down the story shaping our world next.
Billy just fell, huh? Oh!
A scary moment in the Bronx today when a suspected gas explosion caused part of a 20-story residential building to collapse. First responders used sniffer dogs to search the rubble and concluded no one was killed or injured. A local politician said a major disaster had been avoided because children were already in school. There's frustration in Portland, Oregon tonight, with the National Guard set to arrive this week. Donald Trump insists the troops will stop what he calls lawless mayhem. But as Julia Wong shows, many locals say the city doesn't want or need them.
In Portland, protesters have, at times, clashed with federal agents outside this immigration and customs enforcement facility. While sometimes aggressive, they are mostly peaceful.
Bringing bubbles to take the tension down, you know.
But U.S. President Donald Trump has the city in his sights, calling Portland a disaster and war-ravaged. He's deploying the National Guard to protect ICE facilities from what he calls domestic terrorists, and has said cities should be used as training grounds for federal troops.
It's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control. It won't get out of control.
Oregon is suing the Trump administration over the deployment.
The president can say anything about the condition in any city without any factual basis, and then mobilize the U.S. military to that city. That is a dangerous precedent.
Dozens of politicians, business leaders, and unions have signed an open letter rejecting the military intervention.
We do have a history of destructive rioting in this city, but that is not what's happening now, and it hasn't for many years.
In 2020, widespread riots in the wake of George Floyd's death rocked Portland. That might explain Trump's fixation on the city, says this expert.
There's at least some indication that the memory of that is behind the perceptions of the protests that are happening today.
Portland residents, including this Canadian, say the reality is very different.
There wasn't that much of a problem around ICE. There was protesters. By and large, it was peaceful.
A war zone is not the reality we have of Portland.
Does this look like a war-ravaged place? It's not.
Others welcome the troops.
Bring the water cannons. Yeah, I hope they bring their water cannons. That's what will take care of this. That'll make them go away.
The earliest troops could be ready is Thursday, but officials say it's likely it will push into the weekend. After that, all eyes will be on how people respond to their presence, with many calling on protesters not to take the bait. Julia Wong, CBC News, Portland.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. Jane Goodall's message to the world a month before her death, what the legendary primatologist told CBC.
Hope is not about wishful thinking. Hope is about taking action.
But first, training to stand on guard for Arctic sovereignty.
So that vessel is going very fast there now.
We get exclusive access as Canada's forces work side by side with Inuit sentinels.
There is like a lot of international eyes looking at the Arctic.
That foreign interest in Canada's north makes this mission of vital importance. David Common takes us right inside the action.
As the alert comes in,
Canadian warship 433, roger, over.
The Canadian Navy ship bursts to life. We are on board HMCS William Hall, high in Canada's Arctic waters, remote, stunning, and often unforgiving.
Do we have any indication that they're more on the southern side versus the northern side?
No indication, but we'll be able to clear this as we're going.
An aging Air Force surveillance aircraft has identified an unknown small vessel plying these waters. All this a simulated exercise to assert Canada's Arctic sovereignty, something more important now than perhaps ever before. The Navy, Air Force, Army, and Coast Guard have gathered to practice what is considered a likely threat. A suspect boat potentially approaching sensitive military sites here, possibly involved in espionage, even sabotage.
So you get tasked with this. How do you actually proceed now?
So now that we've been tasked for it, we're going to go and take a look and try and find this person. Follow with us.
It's up to Commander Scott Kellerman to locate the boat and the people on board, a needle in a vast Arctic haystack.
We're talking about a period of about 100 square miles, so it could be something that could be very challenging to find.
A challenge in an area vital to Canada's future. Much of the country's economic prospects rely on defending our control over the Arctic. That includes over the water, air, and land. So as part of an annual operation in the north, soldiers from southern Canada come up here, end up dropped on mountaintops for days at a time. It is one part rehearsal, one part survival exercise, and one part surveillance.
Well, we have satellites and other detection equipment to figure out who is in our waters. A lot of that is quite old, and so they still use people to watch out for ships and strangers who are passing through our Arctic waterways and lands.
For nearly 80 years, Canada has relied on the local know-how of the red-coated rangers to help patrol this territory. They live here, so it's a permanent presence. Many are Inuit, intimately familiar with the land and water.
They need to know how to survive out on the land.
At 71 years old, Titus Alulu of Pond Inlet, or Mitimatalik, has been a part-time ranger for close to half a century.
Our job is to be in our area to observe and to listen and to see. If we see anything abnormal that isn't supposed to be there, we report it to headquarters.
A sentinel standing on guard for Canada in the north.
For this patrol, I'm sergeant. That's the highest rank you could go.
In the Rangers?
In the Rangers.
The Inuk, Inuit people, have generations of experience watching over this land, but have not always done so voluntarily. For years, thousands were forcibly relocated across the north so the federal government could lay claim to land here.
The ship Arctic took them to Ellesmere Island. They didn't know they were going.
Titus's mother, seen here on the right, was among those moved further north without notice in the 1920s. His grandfather left with a kayak and little more.
He was given a uniform, RCMP uniform, to a place where he did not know. He's never been there.
But that's a human flagpole.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's a big feat to go from this pristine area that my grandfather knew what to look for, to in terms of keeping his family alive, to move to the place where he had no idea what it was like.
The North is facing enormous change. A warming climate means more shipping, and with that, more nations planning to send vessels through Canadian waters.
When we say traffic, the word traffic comes with the word risk.
Yusuf Mani is the Coast Guard's most senior official across the North.
There is the risk that other countries may take a great interest in this region because of critical minerals, because of the shipping routes.
The geopolitics, we cannot ignore it for sure. So I think what we need to reflect is on the fact that as part of our mandate or the future mandate, for sure we are a key player on the security aspect.
We've seen attempts by foreign governments to buy things that might as well seem innocuous, like some old abandoned factories or mining or things like this, as a way of trying to establish a foothold in the Arctic.
Stephanie Carvin once worked for Canada's national security establishment. She's now a professor at Carleton University and says some see Canada's waters as either theirs or open territory.
Some of the irony in this is that you have foreign nations that are deeply interested in a part of Canada most Canadians don't even think about.
I think this is one of the reasons why it is so important to invest in the Arctic. And I'm not here just talking about military bases, but actually in the quality of life for the people who live in these areas, right?
There is like a lot of international eyes looking at the Arctic for many different reasons. I feel like I'm still scoping out how I feel.
Mariah Erklu left her northern home to study, but has returned to help it prosper. To her, Arctic security means protecting her community.
The groceries up here are very expensive, and there is also a housing crisis going on. To get to a level of us to be able to, take charge and take the lead on things, like we need our well-being taken care of as well.
With less ice and easier navigation, dozens of cruise ships, often with foreign passengers, appear every few days in the summer and early fall. With cultural presentations and tours, Mariah wants locals to benefit, be involved when visitors come. She feels the same about Canada's armed forces.
Seeing the military here and this summer and seeing how many Inuit are involved, like how many people have come on from other communities and practice their exercises, to me, I feel safe because people are working together.
The Arctic, that I think it's so important to.
Down in Iqaluit, in Nunavut's legislature, we meet up with the outgoing premier of the territory, PJ Akiaguk.
We're starting to see some conversations around what we could do to make our communities much more vibrant.
And now the world is noticing what's here.
We've had so many ambassadors from countries around the world come talk about the possibilities of wanting to see how we could work together.
Interested in getting a piece of what the North offers.
Whether it's nation building, whether it's access to deep sea ports so that our resources could come to market, or whether it's really bringing down the cost of living that you see so significantly across the Arctic.
We talk about Arctic sovereignty, and you're also talking about the well-being of communities. I think what you're saying is there's an equal sign between those two things.
They go hand in hand. You need healthy communities to assert your sovereignty.
Much further north, back on the water.
We have located the VOI. We will be closing it in the next 90 minutes.
A Coast Guard helicopter has spotted that suspect vessel, part of the scenario playing out.
That kind of island right there, there's a cove that's inlet that goes inside, and it's inside that inlet.
The Navy ship gets set to deploy its fast boat. Then we're along for the journey as it sets off through the fog to interdict what is believed to be suspicious activity.
So that vessel that's going very fast there now has the RCMP on board, and they're going to go to intercept and possibly arrest those on shore.
As the boat pulls in, a group of Inuk point out the suspicious people. In reality, they're Coast Guard personnel playing the part of a bad guy. The Mounties move in to make an arrest and load them back into the fast boat.
What did you find on them?
He had a handgun, a restricted firearm, Russian military intelligence identification, and drugs on his person.
All right, so the trifecta, basically.
It was full meal deal, yes, sir.
Yeah.
The simulation may seem far-fetched, but those close to national security circles think something like this could indeed happen. One last simulation before the day is out.
We are trying to arrange an air evac via helicopter Griffin.
An Air Force helicopter called in to practice a medical evacuation. It takes twice as long as expected to arrive.
Will be airborne in 10 minutes. Over.
Underscoring both the enormity of the Arctic and the task of patrolling and protecting it.
Canada's military is not permanently deployed in the places David just showed us. When they pack up and leave, it's left up to Inuit sentinels to keep watch. The world-renowned primatologist Jane Goodall gave one of her very last interviews to CBC.
My greatest hope is in the young people. They're listening and they're taking action. They're not just talking.
How a family pet helped prepare her for a groundbreaking career. As the world remembers Jane Goodall, we're presenting one of the final interviews given by the pioneering primatologist.
When people say there's no hope, it makes me angry.
But hope is mixed with some harsh truths.
More people know we're in the midst of the sixth great extinction.
In early September, Goodall spoke with Pia Chattopadhyay, host of the Sunday magazine on CBC Radio and CBC Listen. Here's a portion of their conversation.
I understand you spent more than 300 days on the road this past year. Is that right?
Something approaching that, yes. And everybody says, well, you should be slowing down. But actually, you know, the older I get, the more I have to speed up because the less time I have ahead of me, right?
Fair enough, fair enough. I want to start with your landmark work. How much has our understanding, our collective understanding of our fellow animals, including our close relatives, chimpanzees, changed since you started studying them way back in the 1950s?
A huge difference because I'd been with the chimpanzees about a year, a bit over a year. And my mentor, Dr. Leakey, said, now I want you to get a degree and you have to get a PhD. There's no time for an undergraduate. I'd never been to college. And I was understandably nervous. And I was told by the professors I'd done everything wrong. Chimps should have numbers, not names. And I couldn't talk about their personality, mind, or emotion because those are unique to humans. And fortunately, I had a teacher when I was a child who taught me that they were talking rubbish. And that's a teacher many of us have had. That was my dog, Rusty. And, you know, I just went on talking about chimps the way they are, and I gave them their emotions. And Hugo van Lawick was sent out by the Geographic, and his film began being seen by more and more people around the world. So gradually, science has had to admit that we're not the only beings on the planet with personality, mind, and emotion, and we're part of and not separate from the rest of the animal kingdom.
And so let me pick up on that. How much has our understanding of how humans affect the natural world changed? How much has that understanding changed in your time?
Well, I would say that many, many, many more people now understand that we have so damaged this planet with destruction of the forest, with the pollution of air, water, and land, with our industrial agriculture, poverty where people destroy the environment to survive. They're understanding more about climate change. They're understanding more about loss of biodiversity. More people know we're in the midst of the sixth great extinction.
Understanding is one thing, but as you say, acting is quite another. We have all heard the urgent alarms about climate change threats to our planet. How well do you think we're actually listening to them?
Well, my greatest hope is in the young people. They're listening and they're taking action. They're not just talking. In our Roots and Shoots program, which is now in 76 countries around the world, with members from preschool through university, And the main message of Roots and Shoots is each single one of us, not just the children, all of us, me, you. Every day we live, we make some impact on the planet. And we get to choose what sort of impact we make.
What keeps you hopeful? How do you keep that hope alive?
Well, hope is not about wishful thinking. Hope is about taking action. And by taking action and making a difference, that gives you the hope to keep on. I suppose partly I'm obstinate, and in particular, when people say there's no hope, it makes me angry, because if everybody goes around telling doom and gloom, then everybody loses hope, and then indeed, it is doom and gloom, it's the end. And I blame the media here to some extent, because like I've said, if an animal kills somebody, it's big, big news. And the media seems to feel, I don't know if this applies to you or not, but that bad news is what people want to read about, that they're interested in hearing about the number of people killed in a bomb strike more than they are about people who are rescued through a brave deed. I don't think that's true, but it is true that there's more doom and gloom out in the media than stories of which really get to your heart and make you think, gosh, human beings, really, we can be so wonderful. The stories of the indomitable human spirit, stories of people who tackle the impossible and won't give up. And in doing so, they just are inspiring everybody all around them.
Well, I'm glad you have made the time for us, because you're always inspiring people, and it's always a pleasure to listen to you, Jane Goodall. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can hear their full conversation on CBC Listen. Look for the Sunday magazine there or wherever you find your podcasts. Now here's a quick preview of a story we're working on for you.
Academy, bar the left wheel.
It was Canada's only military-style private boarding school.
Attention.
Robert Land Academy promised discipline and academic rigor for boys struggling at home or at school.
I'm like, oh my God, I can be a soldier? Sign me up.
After almost 50 years in operation, Robert Land shut down last June amid a wave of lawsuits alleging physical and emotional abuse.
Every day at Robert Land was the worst day of my life.
I was just terrorized. I just wanted someone to protect me.
Now some former students are calling for greater oversight of private schools and those who work within them.
If we don't see accountability, then the perpetrators disperse into society and they pop up at other places.
You can watch for that story in the coming days on The National. Coming up, raising a few cold ones for a long-time local hub.
Quiet One for the Boys really turned into quite a community event.
How a community came together to give its beer store a send-off in our moment. This is the small community of Bala, Ontario. Outside their only beer store minutes after it shut its doors for the last time. Kyle Vickers grew up across the street from the store and wanted to do something special to honor its final day. Tonight, their final cheers is our moment.
And the Bala Beer Store, gone but never forgotten.
The funeral was just kind of an idea I had. I thought it was just going to be my hockey team in the parking lot having a beer. Word got out. I came walking up over the hill and the cars were lined up down the road. I was blown away. People are running in and out of the beer store trying to buy the last case. There was the Grim Reaper. And the one guy that had the sign, you know, his dad had worked there. My dad worked there. It's been there a long time. I grew up across the street from it. I always used to think the bright orange sign was the sun coming up, but that was just the beer store sign.
For decades, this noble institution quenched our thirst.
I think everybody will tell you the Bala Beer Store had the coldest beer in town. It meant a little bit of something to everyone. The Quiet One for the Boys really turned into quite a community event. One final cheers for the beers, I guess. Proud to be a part of it.
Kyle ended up delivering an impromptu eulogy honoring the 75-year-old store, and he hung a wreath made of What else? Empty beer cans on the door. It's actually one of 11 beer stores closing across Ontario this week, and more to come since the Ontario government expanded beer sales in grocery stores. Well, from all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Christine Birak. Take good care.